why don't you find a comfortable place to settle in? Just take a slow, deep breath and let your mind quiet down. Tonight, we're going on a little journey, all the way to the misty Scottish Highlands. We're heading to the edge of a deep, dark stretch of water, one that holds on to one of the world's most lasting secrets, a secret that's been whispered through the centuries, the Loch Ness Monster.
So before we really get into the legend itself, I think it's important to get to know the place where it all began. You see, in this story, the water, it's really a character all on its own. Loch Ness isn't just any lake, it's something else. It feels ancient, vast, a powerful presence that was carved right out of the earth by glaciers thousands and thousands of years ago.
Just try to picture it. A long, dark ribbon of water stretching out for 23 miles, winding its way through the Great Glen of Scotland. It's surrounded by these dramatic hills and really quiet shores. You know, the kind of place that just feels completely untouched by time. And because it's so long, it has this immense, almost oceanic feeling to it.
And it's not just long, it's incredibly deep. At its deepest point, the loch just plunges down 755 feet. I mean, to put that into perspective, that's actually deeper than the towers of the Golden Gate Bridge are tall. It's just this colossal hidden world way down there beneath the surface.
The sheer amount of water in this one place it's astounding, really. Because it's so deep and so long, Loch Ness is actually the largest lake in the British Isles by volume. It's this immense, cold reservoir, and get this, it holds more fresh water than all of the lakes in England and Wales put together. Just think about that.
And the water itself, well, it has a secret of its own. It's stained this dark, tea-like color. That's because of all the peat that gets washed down from the hills around it. And what that means is that the visibility is incredibly low. We're talking just a few inches in most places. It's the perfect place for a mystery to hide, isn't it? Just shrouded in its own dark, natural veil.
What's really remarkable, though, is that this huge body of water, it never freezes over. There's this phenomenon called a thermocline, and basically that immense volume of deep, cold water is constantly circulating, so ice just can't form on the surface. It almost makes it feel like a living, breathing thing, you know? Even in the middle of a harsh Scottish winter.
So, when you think about this ancient, deep, and incredibly dark place, well, maybe it's not so surprising that stories started to bubble up to the surface. Let's go back in time, way back, almost 1,500 years, to the very first whisper of a creature living in these waters.
The earliest account we know of comes from the year 565 AD. There's this biography of an Irish monk, Saint Columba, and it tells a story about him. He apparently came across some locals on the banks of the river Ness. That's the river that flows out of the loch. And they were burying a man. They told St. Columba that the man had been mauled by a water beast. This was it, the very first seed of the legend, just a little hint of something unknown lurking in the deep.
And for centuries, that's pretty much all it was, just a piece of local folklore. But then, in the 1930s, something changed. That quiet little legend of a water beast, it suddenly roared to life, and it captured the imagination of the entire world.
And what caused it all? Well, it was something pretty simple, really. A new road. Back in 1933, a road was finished along the northern shore of the loch. And for the very first time, people driving by had this clear, sweeping view of the water. With so many more eyes on the loch than ever before, well, people started to see things.
So 1933 really became the year of the monster. It all kicked off in April when a local woman, Aldi Mackay, said she saw a whale-like creature in the loch. Her story got published, and it was like opening the floodgates. Then in July, a couple, George and Margaret Spicer, reported that this extraordinary creature with a long neck crossed the road right in front of their car. A few months later, in November, a man named Hugh Gray took the first ever supposed photograph. The world was completely captivated, and the creature finally had a name, the Loch Ness Monster, or as we've come to know her, Nessie. Well, with all this global attention, people started demanding proof. Eyewitness stories weren't enough anymore. People wanted to see the monster. And in 1934, they got exactly what they were hoping for, an image that would basically define the legend for decades to come.
And this is it, the famous surgeon's photograph. It was published in the Daily Mail, and it seemed to show the head and the long neck of a creature rising up out of the water. Now, the source was a respected London surgeon, a man named Robert Kenneth Wilson, and that gave the photo instant credibility. For more than 50 years, this one single ghostly picture was for so many people the definitive proof that Nessie was real.
But the truth, well, it turned out to be a lot more complicated. The famous photograph, it was an elaborate but very quiet hoax. It was all put together by a man named Marmaduke Wetherell, and he did it as a kind of revenge against the Daily Mail newspaper because they had publicly humiliated him. He used a toy submarine, some wood putty to build the neck and head, and then got his respectable doctor friend to be the frontman. And with that, he crafted an illusion that fooled the entire world.
Much later, when the full, uncropped photograph was analyzed, it became pretty clear that the monster was actually tiny, maybe only 2 or 3 feet long. But in the end, it didn't really matter. By the time the hoax was fully revealed, decades later, the image had already done its job. The idea of Nessie, it was just permanently fixed in our collective imagination.
And this really brings us to the heart of the story, doesn't it? If the most famous photo is a fake, and if science has never found any real proof, then why are we still so fascinated by this legend? What is it that makes us want to believe?
It's a question that's worth just sitting with for a moment. It seems like all the debunking in the world hasn't really made a dent in the whole phenomenon. People still report sightings, the hope is still there. So what is it about Nessie that we just can't seem to let go of?
Well, maybe the answer is that Nessie is just so much more than a monster. She's become a symbol of Scotland's wild, untamed spirit. She's also a huge part of the local economy and tourism, of course. But it's more than that, I think. She represents a connection to this deep, mysterious past, a time of myth and magic. She's a powerful reminder that our world, which can sometimes feel so completely mapped out and explained, it might still hold a few secrets in its dark corners.
And maybe ultimately that's what this is all about. It's about the human need for wonder. Maybe we need a Loch Ness. We need a place on the map where our imagination can go, where it can swim in those deep, dark waters, and just believe that maybe, just maybe, not everything has been discovered yet. We need a place where mystery is still allowed to exist.
The writer Brian Morton said it so well. We cling to the myth because it goes right to the heart of our culture and who we think we are. And that feels right. Whether she's a creature of flesh and blood or a creature made of pure imagination, Nessie endures. She endures because she represents the possibility of wonder, swimming silently, always, just beneath the surface.